Hallelujah, and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast. It is your host, David McCaig Jr. I am joined by Alex Parr. Let's get him in here first before I do the usual introduction portion of the show. Alex, my friend, how goes the battle?
It goes. It's Wednesday. We're trucking through this week. Not this weekend, but next weekend I'm going to go see the Leafs and Senators game. I've been looking forward to that for months. Hockey night in Canada, so I can't wait. Just trying to get there.
Definitely. Now, nothing more exciting than going to see the Leafs. Doesn't matter where you go see them. Fans are everywhere with Toronto.
Sometimes a morgue is more exciting, but yeah, let's hope.
If you're at Scotiabank Arena, it's quite quiet sometimes, but we've learned that if you go to other arenas, I've went to Columbus, I've seen them in Detroit, I've seen them in Ottawa, Parr's going to see them in Ottawa. Leaf fans flood those arenas. So I'm excited for you to go to that, Parr, especially, with you living in Ottawa now. It's not like you can go see the Leafs every night. You can see Ottawa a bit more. But
twice a year I can see the Leafs, and that's more than I could see in the Sioux. So
that's true. That is true. And as Parr says, that good transition. The Game Sports Podcast is located in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, powered by 91N. That's 91 Network. You can head on over to the 91 Network YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and you can check out all the great content on 91N. There's, of course, the Game Sports Podcast, but as well as other podcasts. It's the Average Jocks podcast, the Bitter Rivals podcast. You got the Nordic Institute podcast on there. You got Strong Minds. There's great content on there that you can check out. And if you're interested in putting your podcast on the platform or joining the platform or even to starting a podcast, 91 Network, SSM at gmail.com. And speaking of the Game Sports Podcast, we are on all audio platforms, Spotify, Apple, wherever. You search us, we're there. Just hit like, follow, subscribe. Very simple simple interaction goes a long way. But I must highlight TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, especially TikTok, at the Game Sports Podcast. Let me repeat that for you. At the Game Sports Podcast. Find it on there. A lot of great videos and a lot of great interaction, especially about the vetoing trades. Got a lot of love on that came up. We got a lot that came with that, of course.
What does that mean? Did I get absolutely roasted or what?
No, I feel like our biggest roast is when the belief was we talked about Shohei Ohtani joining the Blue Jays. I think that might be the biggest roast on the TikTok. But why don't you check that out? You can get a part of it. You can see it. You can be a part of the interaction, and simple interaction and follow goes a long way for us. Now, a lot of great previous editions of the game, but I'm not going to get into that. We're going to talk about this edition. We are going to have hockey in its entirety in this first segment. It's going to be considered our top shelf segment, where myself and Alex are going to go through a lot of points. In particular, near the end of the segment, we're going to redraft the 1982 NHL entry draft. We're going to go back in our time machine. We're going to gun it to 88 down Highway 17, and we're going to get in that's a DeLorean reference if people that don't know that. We're going to go back to the future, but it's in the past. Love saying that. And we are going to redraft the 1982 NHL Draft for the top 5 picks in that draft. In the second segment, I have Paul Van Wagner coming on the show all the way in Virginia. Of course, everyone that knows the Game Sports Podcast should know Paul. He was in radio for over 25 years and with ESPN for a number of those years as well in Virginia. In the third segment, we will have our In the Pocket segment. We do expect EJ Russell to join as well as Justin Hykel, but we got a loaded segment and a loaded football content, but as well as overall sports content for you. But in this segment, we got hockey. We got the WWE Royal Rumble that we're going to talk about too. Lots of great content coming your way. So sit tight, get ready, grab your drink, get your popcorn ready, whatever reference you want, and let's get started. Hykel. You're not Hykel. No. Alex Parr. No. Let's talk about the WWE Royal Rumble. I love it. There's been more WWE chat on this channel in the past 60 days that just gets me so excited. It makes me feel like a kid when I had those wrestling figurines in the fake ring, and I had them standing in the ring, Edge, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kurt Angle.
Who was always your champion when you had them?
Oh, The Rock. All day.
Rock, eh? Okay.
All day, baby. All day. I was a big Rock fan. I'm still a big Rock fan.
Yeah, it looks like he might be coming back in Mania, too. Are you going to be watching that?
I am going to be watching Mania. I didn't get the chance to watch Rumble. I will be straight. I had to watch the after when it was up, and obviously I did see some spoilers, so I did know some things that happened, but I definitely I had the privilege of getting more of the fast forward, and I'm a Rumble fan. I like Royal Rumble. I love WrestleMania. Those are the two favorites for me because, Royal Rumble leads up to WrestleMania. You got people pointing at the sign. You got a lot of matches that are getting, decided. It's going to lead up to WrestleMania. But the Royal Rumble, you got guys and women going insane in the ring. You got stories that it's great. It's great. I love Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. And of course, it's even more enjoyable when you got a Paul at Royal Rumble nowadays, right? Obviously a big match against Owens.
A great match, too.
It was a great match. I give that a high grades. It's kind of interesting because the good guy didn't get away with a cheap shot at the end of it.
Right.
I would say, right? I liked that. Canadian as well.
I like how the refs just kind of decide, pick and choose when they notice these things that happen. But, I mean, it's a story, right? Like, sometimes... I mean, you don't watch Spider-Man and go, what? A man can't spin webs out of his hands. Like, sometimes you just got to, suspend your disbelief a little bit.
You do, and it's great, right? Like, that was a great match. I thought that was great. The Women Rumble was great.
The Women's Rumble was fantastic. Match of the night for me, for sure. Pacing, great. Storytelling, great. I can't remember her name, but the TNA Women's Champion, Jordan Sparks? But that can't be
Can't breathe with no air. That's the singer.
She looked like $1 million. Jordan Grace, it was. She's jacked. Oh my God. She's huge. She's huge. And that was cool to see WWE let a champion from another company come in and perform so well and like not get like thrown away because, you're from the outside. We need to make our stars look great. It was awesome. Right winner. Great surprises. Yeah. The hats off to the Women's Royal Rumble for sure. Better than the men's.
It was better. Honestly, Cody Rhodes winning it.
I don't like Cody Rhodes.
There's a lot of mixed emotion with that, right? Like it seems like online people were against for it, and people were obviously saying the women's match was better. I know there was chants going on, and if I remember correctly from watching the retake, it was a Roman Reigns matchup, which was I'll give it a decent grade. I don't think it was the most impactful match of the night. Like you said, part of the Women's Rumble was there, and I did enjoy the Paul Owens fight. I can't believe it.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
But fans are chanting, this is awesome, right? Fans were interacting, and Triple H and the crew at the WWE are trying to do things that are going to engage the previous market, which I would say is my market to a degree, my age group, even older.
That's why they bring like The Rock back and stuff, though. That for people like you,
Yeah, and the people older, even like of course, Intercontinental Inch character here on the Game Sports Podcast. I will not give away his age without saying his name, but he's older than I am, and that generation too really enjoyed. They got to see Andre the Giant. I feel like I'm aging him a bit, but he's not that old.
You are. Yeah, he's definitely not that old.
Right, you got that you bring back some of those people. You're going to bring back the interest, right? And then you got the social media going on. When The Rock came back, social media went. It was like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce level. Maybe not as big, but that match between the men's Rumble, what's your take? Do you think WWE should have maybe went with somebody else to win that Rumble? Because I believe, and again, remembering this correctly, this is the second time he's won it in a row, which is the first time that's been done since Hulk Hogan. If I heard those references,
I think there's
Shawn Michaels. I believe there's a few.
Yeah, there's 4 people that have won it twice back to back. I can't remember all of them. First time in like 20 something years or something.
Yeah.
They backed themselves into a corner. Cody should have just won at Mania last year because the championship run has gotten so stale since. It's just been a year of waiting, and we all knew where it was going. We all knew it was Cody and Roman at Mania. And at no point, even last year, did I really care about Cody Rhodes. It was the lowest hanging fruit you could have possibly picked, and you postponed it for a year. And I didn't like it to start with, and then I had to wait for a whole year just for him to do it all over again to fight Roman at Mania, or is Roman going to be fighting The Rock now? So Cody's got to fight Seth Rollins instead. I don't know. Nothing against the guy personally. I just don't care for Cody Rhodes even a little bit. So thumbs down from me. No good surprise returns either. There was like a few from other companies that came, like Andrade and stuff like that, but like there was no, like, I don't know. You have like X-Pac come in sometimes. That's cool. That's fun,
The X Factor. The X
Exactly.
Yeah, the X Factor. Got it.
Like, why not? Like, that's fun stuff. But they didn't really have any of that this year. I don't know. It just seemed a little lackluster. The thing I will applaud them for, though, is they only had 4 matches on the card. And when you start that show at 8 and it's running past 11, 4 is plenty. You do not need more if it's already running that long.
Exactly. I would have liked to see that. I know they incorporated the women's and everything. They incorporated bringing in other wrestlers from some other.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see, a couple surprises come out. If it was Edge, just come out to be a little surprise.
That's not going to happen, unfortunately.
No, it's not.
WWE and AEW are not seeing eye to eye right now.
No,
yeah.
even I like to say
you were going to say Undertaker, right?
Undertaker, right?
He's done. Let that
He's so old. He's so old.
Give that dude a cane. Get him a nice fucking warm blanket. Let that dude just rest, man.
Yeah, or even The Rock. Maybe that would have been a good opportunity for him to come out and knock out and then point at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
that's the call out to Roman, right?
Because go ahead.
You got Cody and Roman was there. He was there. He fought.
Yeah.
He was in the press box,
right? And
Cody was looking at him, pointing at him, right?
Hmm.
So they're trying to line up where it is Roman, but I love the storyline better where it's The Rock against Roman. It just way better. Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. I think that makes good sense. But it sounds like they're going the other way, though. It sounds like they're giving Cody the thing against Roman. But are they going to do a triple threat match? Maybe are they going to look at it where The Rock's going to show up somehow and challenge them, and then Triple H or somebody's going to say something to make it a bit more entertaining? Then let's make it more entertaining. A no holds barred triple threat match between The Rock and Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, right? I don't know. Who knows? There's
triple threat matches are always no rules, so just putting that out there.
Thank you. What I remember with triple threat before, people that are I would say my generation, but I thought if I remember correctly, triple threat matches were not always no holds barred. I don't know. I truly don't
they
know.
Are.
If they are, I will stand corrected. Nonetheless, let's get something booming that's going to have The Rock in there. Because if you have The Rock in there, people are going to watch that. But I think it's almost time, Alex, to let Roman surrender.
Oh, yeah, this is it. He won't make it past this Mania. Absolutely not. And if he does, goddamn, do something new with him, man. Make him show up to TV every now and then.
Literally.
And to touch on your point of having The Rock in the Rumble, it would probably be good for his cardio, because when he showed up on Raw and threw a couple punches, he was after. So, I mean, it would have been good.
Don't tell him that.
Whatever. But, I mean, and then whoever throws him out of the Rumble, say he doesn't win and you have Cody win, that's huge for whoever throws him out. That makes them look so good because they eliminated The Rock from the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And that's just, you get 2 birds, 1 stone. You get The Rock back moving and advance his story, and 2, you potentially make another big name superstar out of whoever eliminated him. But I think that's all my thoughts on the Royal Rumble this year. It was a show. It started really hot and slowed down throughout, and you don't like to see that. But otherwise, it was fun. I was happy I watched it.
I wanted to give some WWE love today. That makes sense. I wanted to. Now, transitioning Parr, there's going to be a lot of points in hockey that we're going to touch on. A few of it's just going to be very brief for just due to sensitivity of time and obviously to keep the content as relevant as we can. The expansion in the NHL today, obviously, Chicklets, Kevin Weeks, I should say, posted about, Georgia today, and I'm not going to read the tweet. We're not going to even pop it on screen. You've likely seen it. You know that the NHL is considering expansion. It's not a secret. But it seems like the state of Georgia has got their hands in the pot, and they want to have a team brought back to Atlanta. So, Parr, what I'll ask you is Atlanta ? And then the second part is, where would you locate 2 teams? Not 1, 2 teams.
Where would I put 2 new teams?
Yeah, but answer Atlanta first.
Atlanta, but why? I mean, the theory of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and it failing. Yeah, I mean, if you're going for the hat tricks of failed franchises, I mean, go back. I mean, Winnipeg's not even selling that many seats, or at least they weren't at the beginning of the year. And I heard some rumblings like, people aren't so sure about it. And that would be the same franchise failing 2 times. That's crazy.
Yep.
keep Gary, really, Atlanta of all places. I don't know where I would put another team. I mean, we've seen Vegas work really, really well, and I mean, surprisingly, right? But it's like
Surprisingly.
you go
I
to
didn't believe
Vegas.
it.
I didn't either. Oh
Didn't
God, I
believe it.
thought that didn't make any sense at all. But I mean, I don't know. You're there on a Thursday night and the shows aren't playing or whatever, so you need something to do. Go to one of the best atmospheres of a hockey game that you could possibly get. The entertainment's great, all that stuff. I don't really know where I would go. I guess like Quebec City is like an easy answer. Toronto, a second team, always gets brought up. I think that
I
doesn't
hate
make any
that.
sense.
I
Yeah,
hate
me
that.
too.
So you got two Ottawa. You got two Ottawa. Nope. You have two Ontario teams. You got Ottawa, Toronto. I know you got the demographic. No. Two Ontario teams. Y'all be crazy. Don't do that.
New York's got 4.
Yeah, New Jersey, Buffalo, New York, right? And that's what people tell me sometimes. They say, hey, like Buffalo, New Jersey, the New Yorks, there's 4 New York teams. Why wouldn't 3 Ontario teams work? I'm not saying it wouldn't work. And I'm trying to eliminate the Toronto bias out of me a little bit here. I think it's fine where it is in Ontario. I personally have always been attracted to, yes, Quebec City to have another team, but Halifax, Nova Scotia, but their population is
tough.
right. That's the tough part. But that would be a cool storyline. I'm not saying to go there. I just think that'd be cool to go there. You call them the Halifax Highlanders, right? Let's go there. Let's make a little story out of it. But I think if I had to say Atlanta, first off, I don't have to get into it too much because you said my exact quote, the definition of insanity. And as a friend of ours and analyst on this show, I don't call everybody analysts. It just slipped that way. But co-host, that's the term I want to use. Dane Hantro, the Atlanta three-peats was the joke that he used in the chat.
Yeah,
I like that.
Right?
Don't do it. I think it's a stupid call. But again, there's a team still in Arizona. I'm sorry, Arizona fans, but it seems like they're trying. There's something there in Georgia we don't know. I just don't think it's a good idea.
Dave, imagine Toronto gets a second team and that team wins the cup before the Leafs do.
Yeah, I would. Then we can't show our faces in public anymore.
That would be the funniest outcome of all time.
I like 2 spots. And I'm going to give a notable to a third because they kind of creeped up. But the 2 notables that I think should have a team is Houston. I think Houston would be okay. I know Dallas has a team, though, and there's that question, right?
But can have 2 teams in Dallas, and Houston can definitely work.
Yeah, that would work. So that's one. And the other team, and people are going to roll their eyes because they hear enough of this city, Kansas City. I like the idea of Kansas City. I know there's, you can think of RL St. Louis is close or whatever it may be. But I think the way that sports are in Kansas City, the Missouri area, that whole region in the States, I'm not going to name all the surrounding states because I'll be honest with you, I don't memorize them. I don't know them all. But I think a team could fit in Kansas City. A third team, if you want to know my third team, my notable, because I'm sure everyone's curious about it, Utah.
Yeah, Utah's actually trying to make moves right now to have that happen. They're in talks with the NHL.
Yeah.
They might have to build a new arena, but the Jazz would also play there if they did it. So
money, that makes sense.
I think I don't know if I'm right, so don't take this to heart. Please do your own research. That they might be talking to the city about trying to get funds to build a new arena. So I think Utah is actually more realistic than most people think.
It is. And if it's Houston, Utah, that's fine. But Quebec City is not getting the love. And the reason why I didn't mention Quebec City is because I've come to the realization that's not going to happen. It's not. It should. I think it should. But again, you're going back to a city that didn't work before. So maybe it's time to give somebody else a chance that hasn't had the chance yet. That is
like Atlanta.
Like Atlanta, Utah, Kansas. In all seriousness, Utah, Kansas, Houston, those are cities I think should be getting a look. And I think you really have to relocate the Coyotes, but I think they want to keep them there. They really want to keep them there. Speaking of expansions, this kind of transitions a little bit. Not really. We're going to go into another thing of expansion.
The draft segment?
I was going to say that or if recent NHL, all this different topics we're planning on touching on, but quick point I'll mention about expansion because it's not really expansion, it's a relocation. Mississauga, the Steelheads will be moving to Brampton. Brampton had an OHL team called the Brampton Battalion, okay, and that didn't work out. They moved over to North Bay, wasn't working. Mississauga's not working, and it seems like they're just going to be looking to go back to Brampton. I'm not in the business side of it. I know there's more that you can look on a post from TSN. I'm not going to take their quotes from their articles. You can check it out. Just my opinion on it. I think they should keep them in Mississauga. I think going back to Brampton really isn't the idea, but what other city are you going to go to in Ontario, right? There's the option to run it a little bit thin, people say, and I agree with them on that. But again, speaking of expansion or relocation, that is happening. The All-Star Game topic, Parr, I don't want to beat this topic up too much because we talk about it every year.
Yeah, it sucks. It's for kids. Boo.
Do you care about it?
I care about the skills competition because they're having like 8 big names compete for $1 million, and that's cool. Like, I'll get to see these players actually try. The game, everybody's hungover. Nobody gives a shit. Who cares? It's for kids. It's not for us. Skills comp. They took out Jack Hughes because I think he's injured.
Yeah,
you would know.
Jesper Bratt. Yeah, I would know.
They put Matt Barzal into that skills competition, though, the 8-person. Matt Barzal is not as sexy of a name as Jack Hughes is. I think Jack Hughes would have been much more fun, but it is what it is, and I'm applauding the NHL for their efforts in actually doing something worth watching.
That was the point of the All-Star Game. I know the game's the game, but the game it used to be back in 2000 when they had it in Toronto was it was a great All-Star weekend team. They were trying. There was bumps on the boards.
Did you go? Were you there?
No, I was not there. I watched it. I remember being 9 years old, watching my parents' basement. Still to this day, and I remember it because it was so great to watch. That skills comp, Chris Pronger, McKinnon, the guys that were there, nostalgic names, big names in Toronto. The Air Canada Centre is what it was called before, Scotiabank, and it was new. That's why they went there. And obviously, being in Toronto, hockey mecca of the world, they're going to get an All-Star Game, especially with the new arena. So they have. It was well done. So I hope that they can replicate that in this All-Star Game for what they did in 2000. But it's cool. I like that draft and the skills competition. I'm all in. And like Parr said, the game, it's a good idea having the 3. Like I get it. The idea is there. It's just the effort isn't there. But the skills competition is where I want to see the effort because I want to see the skills. But I would rather them start bringing people that aren't just the sexy household names. I want them to start bringing people that truly would have the hardest shot, truly would be the best angler. I would love to see that. I think that would be more effective in the NHL All-Star Game.
They do that in the NBA for the dunk contest. Those guys are not all-stars most of the time. Those guys are just guys that can dunk.
100%. And now, like I said, you bring in people that have a skill at the hardest shot, skill at the dangling, skill for fastest skater, target shooting. You bring in the best at those positions. That would be so entertaining and so awesome to watch. Not just bringing in the name, bringing in the people, the players that would be best for those respective competitions that would be in place. But again, then you're starting to bring not just big household names, you bring in other players, but you should be open to ideas to try to expand this. Definitely try to capitalize on the viewership with the draft, fantasy draft, and the skills competition.
I want to see all-stars like Frank Vetrano and Boone Jenner do the hardest shot competition. I don't know what they're actually doing, but
yeah, Boone Jenner, definitely a leadership guy. Maybe they should make a leadership competition. Now, some other recent OHL news I get to very quickly through these. I don't mean to say that way quickly. Obviously, I know we're sensitive for time, so I'm not going to dissect too much getting into these points. But the first thing I want to bring up is, of course, here in Sault Ste. Marie, that's where the Game Sports Podcast is located. We do coverage on the Sioux Greyhounds. We have since we started the show, and we work closely with the Greyhounds, especially from a media perspective. And, there was a goaltender's name that was up in the rafters there at the GFL Memorial Gardens, John Van Beesbrook, obviously who played in the National Hockey League, notably for Florida, lost the Stanley Cup Finals to Colorado. There was a letter that was sent out by Trevor Daley for the Diversity Alliance, the Hockey Diversity Alliance, essentially, in summary, thanking to have the jersey taken down because of an incident that occurred between John Van Beesbrook and Trevor Daley. If you want to look up what that story is, if you're unfamiliar with it, you can look it up. we're not going to get into that story or any reminders, but of course it was a very traumatizing event for Trevor Daley due to the actions of John Van Beesbroek, and his banner, his jersey, was taken down from the rafters at the GFL Memorial Gardens. So I wanted to state that piece of news, given that people, of course, would want to know as we try to share as much as we can here on the Game Sports Podcast. The next point I want to get to, again, it's a very Rick Westhead is, his reporting level has been on a different level. He's definitely getting out facts. He's doing what he can to keep everyone updated on the particular situation that's occurring with the London police and those that are involved that have taken leaves of absences from their teams in relation to surrendering themselves to the London police. And one of the players, Dylan Dubé, that was brought up as what's caused a lot more discussion because of Calgary, because of what his rationale was with leaving the team, then Calgary not knowing and then find out what the true cause was. Nonetheless, the 5 players that have come forward and have been released, you got Dylan Dubé, you got Foote, you got Formerton, you got McLeod, and you got Carter Hart that have come forward. And there's no details about the in-depth details about what the trial official date is. But of course, it's going to be quite some time before we get any determination about what is going to be the actions of this, but those are the 5 players that are no longer playing professional hockey at this point and have taken leaves from their team as this is being investigated. And if this is the first time that you are hearing about this, as I said at the beginning, Rick Westhead is your source, your main source. I'm going to give him the full credit. And of course, you can find it online in multiple sources, but the game will not get into.
Me and Dave are idiots. We are not the guys to listen to give you the facts on this case. There are very many great sources on it out there. You just got to go look, and you don't have to go look hard, but definitely educate yourselves on this matter for sure.
Yeah, and Parr and I have done so, but we're not going to share the education we have because we've learned it from somebody else and we want you to look it up further. But that's the news that we will give you in regards to the situation, and the time will tell in regards to future details that will be shared. Other brief points I want to get into, Alex, before the redraft. The Canucks have given an extension to Patrick Alvin, gets a multi-year extension in Vancouver. Look, a year ago, I was chirping Vancouver about what they did to Bruce Boudreau, friend of the show, mind you, and someone who I've had on the show, and his son, Ben, who's having a great time in the Ontario Hockey League right now coaching. Another friend of the show as well. The Vancouver Canucks have surprised all this year, and I'm sure Bo Horvat is kicking himself in the ass for leaving Vancouver. That team is doing quite well, and they're looking quite excited. Frederik Andersen is resuming skating, former Leaf. Blood clot issues. It seems like he is going to try to get back into action. Good to see for Freddie. I've always loved Freddie. He was a good goalie when he was in Toronto. Despite the success that didn't occur, it's not all on him. I think Freddie was a good goalie in Toronto. Phil Kessel wants back in the NHL still. Of course
so do I.
Yes, and I would love to as well. Zach Parise is a recent signing with the Colorado Avalanche. Why not Phil Kessel? Will Phil Kessel come back to the NHL? If he does, where does he go? My prediction is the Avalanche. Parr, do you have a prediction?
I don't think he's going to be back in the NHL. I've never really given any thought to where he would go because I just don't think it's going to happen. Man, okay. Chicago. That's where I think he would go.
Nice.
Throw some money at an old guy. Oh, hey, Connor, you don't have Corey Perry anymore. Here's Phil Kessel. He's won a couple of cups. He can teach you a thing or two. Just stay away from that Coke that he drinks every game. No hot dogs that he drinks. Yeah, no exactly.
Who do you think will sign Phil Kessel if he returns? Comment below. And joke of the day that I want to share that I heard today. I know Parr probably gave this a read, and I got to love the chirps when it comes to Toronto, but I thought it'd be funny for people to hear this. So let me read this for you as I look to a screen and not directly at my camera. Joke I heard today. That's exactly what I put. Parr will tell you what I put on the script.
Oh, I didn't read it. I didn't see it.
I'm sure you didn't. Austin Matthews' flavored prime drink is now available in Canada. Nope, that's not the joke. Stanley Cup sold separately.
I saw one that said "great for the golf course." And that made me laugh.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And gotta love those trips. Why don't you tell us a joke? If you want to tell us a joke of the day, but if you've tried this Austin Matthews flavored prime drink, let me know before I go buy it. I'm curious, just because yes,
I looked for it at the grocery store today. I didn't see it.
probably a popular seller because getting ready for those golf
Yeah,
season.
exactly. Got to bring it to the simulator.
Yeah, simulator is a good
Mhm.
example. All right, Alex, we are in the 1982. We have went in our DeLorean. And we went back in time, and we are here to help those as we bring the entry draft segment that we have started to do. We started from 1980. We had 1980, 1981. Now we're in the third week of doing this, and we're going to do this all the way up to present 1982 NHL Draft. We are going to go back in time in our DeLorean, and we're going to help the Boston Bruins. We're going to help the Minnesota North Stars. Almost said Minnesota Twins. Forgive me. Not a thing. Toronto Maple Leafs, Philadelphia Flyers, and Washington Capitals make their selections in this year's 1982 draft. Okay. And if you need a quick refresher, very simple. We're only redrafting the top 5 picks in the 1982 NHL draft. Parr, you're going to go first.
Perfect. Do you want me to go bottom up? Or should I save my number 1 pick for last? Or do you want me to go 1 through 5?
You do what you want. I will give you. You're
All
the
right.
time traveler who's making this choice. You choose what you want to do.
All right. I want to go from my 5th pick to my first pick. I feel like that'll leave more of a reveal. I feel like the number 1 is a little bit more exciting than number 5. Number 5, Ron Hextall.
Oh.
You want to sell some tickets? Get that guy playing for you because somebody's going to lose their shins that game. Number 4, Scott Stevens, easy pick. This was a prime player in the dead puck era where nobody was scoring because of big fucks like Scott Stevens who would take your head off even if you thought of scoring. Number 3, this might be controversial, Doug Gilmour. A lot of points, Stanley Cup champion. But you know who else had 1,000 points plus in this draft? Defenseman Phil Housley. How often are we seeing defensemen put up 1,200 points in their career?
Nope.
Not very often. 1,000-point forwards come not a dime a dozen, but more frequently than that. So the number 1 pick, very easily, 1,600 games, Dave Andreychuk. You need a guy to win you a cup, bring you some veteran leadership, and have a long career. Dave Andreychuk's your guy.
Love that. Love it. Parr's got picks. Let us know what you think of his picks. You will not know Dane's picks this week because we don't read them unless you're here live, Dane. Thanks for sending them. I'm not reading them.
Really? Do you want me to read them?
All right, go ahead. Read Dane's picks. Alex will read Dane's picks for him. Okay,
was
so he
hilarious.
feels nice.
Okay, I got Dane's. I'll go from 5 to 1. He went Hextall, Andreychuk, Stevens, Housley, Gilmour. Closet Leafs fan Dane Hantro.
Well, of course it is. I think there is some similarity in picks, of course, but nonetheless, we'll do it anyways. The first, I'm going to go in the same. No, you know what? Parr went from 5th up. Mm-hmm. I will go 1st to 5th. Okay. That is what I will do. I will do 1st to 5th. With the first overall pick, the Boston Bruins are proud to select Doug Gilmour. Wow. Toronto fans, swallow that.
You and Dane both went Gilmour first.
Gilmour first, given what he can bring to the ice. Number 2, the Minnesota North Stars are proud to select Phil Housley.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You gotta take a defenseman like that. I think that is imperative. The 3rd overall pick, the Toronto Maple Leafs are proud to select. He was a Leaf anyways. Dave Andreychuk. Of course, look at the resume. The 4th overall pick, the Philadelphia Flyers are proud to select. They're gonna love this. Scott Stevens. The guy who took Eric Lindros out is gonna be Eric Lindros' teammate. Okay, figure that out. With the 5th overall pick, the Washington Capitals are proud to select Pat Verbeek. I went with Pat Verbeek in terms of games played, longevity.
Who was your 3 again?
My 3 was Dave Andreychuk.
Okay. I was gonna say I thought I didn't hear him there. I was gonna say I don't know.
No.
Okay.
Notable 6th is definitely Ron Hextall. You got to give a notable 6 to Ron Hextall. He was for obvious reasons, but goaltending was very important. I was really thinking I was going to throw him 5th, but I think the games that Verbeek played, to have someone play 1,400 games, I think, and have over 1,000 points, a lot of teams would take that. And I think he'd be a good addition to Washington. So Gilmore, Andrechuk, Housley, Stevens, Verbeek in that order 1 to 5. Isn't that fun, enjoyable? That is so great. Alex Parr.
Dave McCaig.
We had a hell of a time today talking hockey. We talked WWE. It was great.
SmackDown.
Little Schmackdown was layeth the Smackdown. Mm-hmm. And, of course, hockey chat all over the place with multiple topics. Let us know what you think about all of our points. It's time for me to let Alex go enjoy some dinner. And nice. when I come back, I'm going to have Paul Van Wagner joining myself, talking a nice little segue into our In the Pocket segment, which will be in the third segment. But Paul's going to be here strictly talking about the Detroit Lions. Going to give a little bit of love to a lot of the good amount of faithful Game Sports Podcast listeners that are Detroit Lions fans. Paul's going to be here to chat with you a little bit about his thoughts about their loss to the 49ers as we transition to In the Pocket here on this edition of the game. Alex, thank you very much, man.
Yeah, and just before you start that segment, I just can't wait for all the Detroit fans to go back to where they were before with no meaning at all, because Jordan Love's going to run the NFC North next year, and they know it, and they're scared of it. So I hope they enjoyed this little fun little run that they had. First time in 30 years you get a playoff win. Grow up, Detroit. You're done for next year. All right, that's all I got.
Oh, Alex, from a Green Bay fan. Let us know if you're going to take that, Lions fans. Let us know.
All right. They've been taking it from the Packers for the last 3 decades. Are you kidding me?
I guess. No love from the one that has a quarterback with the same last name. Mm-hmm. Listeners, we'll be right back here on the Game Sports Podcast, powered by 91N. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. This is Dave McCaig, continuing to host you this evening. I am joined by Justin Hykel. Before I bring in Justin Hykel, I want to let you know, listeners, I am very sorry. I know I did promise you the one and the only, the man, the myth, the legend, longtime radio host of over 25 years, in particular with ESPN in Virginia, with Blacksburg for the past number of years, Paul Van Wagner, as you know him here in these parts of Sault Ste. Marie, if you are in these surrounding parts, as junior. Unfortunately, we did do a recording, and due to some corruptions in technology, we will say we could not use that file and have it uploaded. It was a fantastic segment, too. We actually had a little bit of hockey talk in there. We mixed a lot about the Lions in there. It was great content, but unfortunately, we will not be able to share it with you. My apologies. It could not be salvaged, and we could not schedule recording in time for this required upload of the show. So I apologize to you that we do not have Paul coming on in a second segment. This show will only be a second or two segmenter. We'll call it that. That's the word I'm going to use here, where you had myself and Alex at the beginning. And this will be myself and Justin talking in the pocket. But even before in the pocket, I got to get to that hockey content that I've been dying to share with you that we would have been having already shared at the second segment, because we missed talking about it in the first segment because it was breaking news. Okay. So I'll get to the agenda just momentarily here. I want to bring in Justin. He's been waiting. Justin, my friend, thanks for coming on. How is everything?
Yeah, good to be here. Sorry for everyone. I'm not Paul. So, you get me instead. But no, we're here. We got that big trade happened just a couple minutes ago there, and let's talk about that, and then we'll hammer into our Super Bowl chat.
150%. Justin said it right there. We're going to be talking about a big trade that happened in the National Hockey League that we couldn't report, as I said in the second segment. Then we're going to be doing right into our In the Pocket, where we talk about the conference championship games to a brief point, of course. And then we are going to give a little bit of reaction about the Lions, because that would have been with me and Paul, but there's a lot of good points that I feel I shared, and even Paul. And then, of course, we'll get into our Super Bowl preview and picks before we wrap up the show. We got about 20-25 minutes, and for the individual that's responsible for the timing tonight, it's actually Justin. It's not going to be me, because we're going to give Justin the trial on time, because yours truly as a producer has been doing a great job on the time side of it. So let's get right into it, Justin. Let's talk about this trade that we want to talk about that couldn't be mentioned earlier. In the National Hockey League, there was a breaking trade, okay, that the Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames made, and it's going to be a domino effect for the rest of the league, I feel like. Finally, I think Vancouver already started that domino effect when they acquired Zadorov. Well, you figure. But I think this is the trade that's going to start getting everybody talking a bit more, getting the trades going a little bit more as the trade deadline is very near. It's going to come quicker than you think. The Vancouver Canucks acquired Elias Lindholm from the Calgary Flames for Andrei Kuzmenko, Hunter Bruskevich, Yanni Yarmo, a 2024 first-round pick, and a conditional 2024 fourth-round pick, okay? To wrap up this trade, if you think of it from my perspective, before I go over to Justin, very simple. The Vancouver Canucks move on from Bo Horvat last year. They bring in some pieces for Bo Horvat. Lindholm is going to slide into the top 6 very nicely. It's a guy who not only has a good smile, he's somebody who's going to put the puck in the net and play both sides of the puck effectively, which would be very good and fit the system very nicely for Tocchet there in Vancouver. I don't want to say they replaced Bo Horvat, but they technically, I feel, may have a little bit in this trade with already having to add pieces that they did from the Horvat trade. They obviously moved out one of those trades earlier this year, but besides the point, Lindholm is going to be going into Vancouver, and he's going to slide into its top 6 role, and he's going to be playing obviously very, very much in variety of situations. The power play, probably, I think he'd probably be more on the second unit, but he's going to be more thriving on the penalty kill. If they're in a 5-on-4, 5-on-3 situation, this is somebody who can bring leadership to a room, and overall, they get a player who can help them win now. And I want to say right off the hop, as I'm talking about Vancouver, this is a team that has exceeded expectations this year. Statistically, I'm going to prove something to you. They are technically, along with Winnipeg, Canada's best team right now. I know Leafs fans, myself and Justin are those people, may not like to hear that. Okay? Edmonton Oilers fans may not like to hear that. Oh, we've won 16 in a row. Look, I know you have. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about right now in the standings. You pop up the standings. Who do you see up there? Okay, Vancouver is looking really good right now. They've been consistent all year. Good goaltending defensively has been wild since it got Zadorov. They have Myers back there. Philip Hronek, that trade with the Detroit Red Wings, everyone was flipping out about, saying, oh, they traded a first-round pick for Hronek. I think it looks pretty good right now. The moves Vancouver have made have been effective, okay? And this roster, despite what happened last year, it's last year. This year, this roster has exceeded expectations. They've been playing well, consistent throughout the lineup. They're very tough to play against. They get in your face. They score goals. They overall play consistent. And let's think of it this way. When you're doing well, you need to be rewarded. And what does Vancouver's GM, Patrick Alvin, do, who just recently got an extension? He rewards this roster. And he rewards this roster in a very big way, getting one of the big fish that were on the trade market that's going to be very good in their top 6 and can play in various situations of the game. When a team is playing good, if you want to instill further confidence, I know Justin's going to bring up another point about maybe keeping certain players. I'll leave that to Justin. That is what's going to be a key piece here. He is somebody who may not stay in Vancouver. It's going to be hard, especially from a salary cap standpoint. But again, when a team is playing well, they're at where they're at now, and that you're a team that's a buyer, you must reward your team. And that will even get them to step up to the next point in confidence if Vancouver even has another level to go to, because they're playing on such confidence right now, being led by Quinn Hughes on that back end. The kid is a stud. Reward the roster. Vancouver has done that. Justin, before we go over to talk about Calgary's bring on in this trade, what effect do you think that Lindholm will have on that lineup with Vancouver, and what other effects could happen on that lineup if Lindholm even decides to stay in Vancouver?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think it just gives another Swede to the lineup to help with Pettersson there. I mean,
oh, they have another one? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I mean, we've all seen the rumors floating around earlier this year that maybe he doesn't want to be there, and all that kind of jazz. But honestly, it doesn't look like it. I mean, from an outsider looking in and looking at their position in the standings, they look pretty happy together. They look like a pretty good team. So. But I think, honestly, bringing in another guy who's a big leadership piece to the locker room, like Lindholm is, really benefits that younger group that they have there. And honestly, might be a good match to re-sign Lindholm in Vancouver, which then would maybe entice Pettersson to sign an extension in Vancouver. It might have the domino effect on the roster.
Yep.
But I mean, it seems like the exact opposite's going on in Calgary. Everyone's getting the F out of town there. That's
the heck out, and they're not done. And Conroy And that's a good transition to Calgary. After we talk about Calgary, we'll do a grade of the trade, and then of course, as promised, this is supposed to be the In the Pocket segment, so we will talk football. That I assure you. But it's great. I get to talk hockey with Justin. We haven't done that in a while, so I'm a little bit excited for this. So, Calgary Flames get 3 prospects, one of which isn't a prospect. He's an NHL ready player. They have a first-round pick, and he's not even young. He's a 27-year-old. So let me rephrase that. 2 prospects, an NHL-ready player, a first-round pick, and a conditional 4th. Kuzmenko is going to play top 6 minutes there in Calgary on a team that has a lot of money to some forwards. Huberdeau and Kadri, okay? There's some money towards guys, especially to Nazem Kadri, and there's somebody who said he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. Hey, you just signed a very long contract. Like, yikes. Huberdeau, yikes.
You're there. You're there.
You're there now. But he's going to slide in and play some top 6 minutes. Is he somebody who I think would make sense to play with Huberdeau? No, I don't think that would work. I think Kuzmenko's got to play with Kadri as long as Kadri isn't playing with Huberdeau. I think that would make sense. I think the work of Kadri down low and the way he plays would be more effective for Kuzmenko. But having that top 6 minutes is going to be a benefit to Kuzmenko to really try to get out of his shell a little bit further, where it really hasn't been able to blossom any further in Vancouver. Okay. Hunter, who they brought over, great prospect, defensive prospect. He's somebody who will be a little bit, I don't want to say he's a project, but you got to give him about 3 to 4 years, I think, before you start seeing him in the National Hockey League. And Yormo, there's a guy that's just looking for a different fit too as well. It's a good move there. The first round pick, it's a late pick. Who cares? It's a first round pick. It's a prospect in a draft that people have mixed feelings about. I don't think it's a very heavy draft or anything too wild if you want to look back at previous drafts, but hey, if you look at our draft segments, there's been some drafts where people get drafted late that we would actually draft higher now if we can go into the past. So who knows what that pick can do? You really rely on your scouts for the 1st and 4th. But we're talking about the players. Kuzmenko, key piece of that going over along with these 4 other pieces. It's on the headline on TSN even. It says Kuzmenko and 4 other pieces. Okay, we know who the headline is. The Calgary Flames get a boatload back. Justin, I'll let you share your point that we were talking about off air prior about maybe Calgary got a little bit extra than people would have anticipated.
I mean, honestly, I think just my initial reaction is Calgary won the deal out of the 2 of them.
Yep.
I mean, we could overanalyze this till we're blue in the face. But I mean, if Vancouver has playoff success, then I honestly, it's sometimes both teams they could just trade and it works out. I mean,
yep.
Sometimes teams get screwed, but sometimes it works out. And honestly, if we look at this 6 months from now, I honestly think it's probably a tie.
Yep.
5 years from now, who knows? But today, at this point, Calgary won the deal. I think Kuzmenko has a little bit more upside. The only thing that scares me about him, like we talked about earlier, is like he's a pretty old rookie, like 27, 26, 27.
Michael Bunting feelings.
Yeah, like Billy Madison kind of thing going on there. But who knows? I mean, he had quite a bit of an offensive touch the back half of last year, and things weren't going too great in Vancouver then. So maybe he goes to Calgary. They put him on a line on his own. And he can drive a line. Maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he just needs some opportunity. And looks like there's plenty of opportunity in Calgary right now to put some points up. So
I think, and then Calgary has to ice a team. Okay, like I know, and they're not even like tanking. They're not even really doing that. But you can tell that they're making moves. And I should correct myself.
I saw the deal and I was like, they're sellers. I guess
it's like the trade deadline's March 8th, right? We're looking at that about a month from now. If Kuzmenko goes in there in Calgary and performs high, do they flip him at the deadline? If they're truly sellers, if you're not retaining somebody, but you gotta also ice a team. Okay, they're not going to trade. You're not moving Huberdeau. Kadri, get warm, get tight. You're not going anywhere. Mackenzie Weegar, you're not going anywhere. The guys that look like they could be on the way out are guys like why am I drawing a blank? Noah Hannafin, Chris Tanev, and Jakob Markstrom. Though and maybe Dan Vladar. Because you have Dustin Wolf waiting in the wings there if you want to get some younger pieces in there. Okay, so maybe there is more to this trade that Calgary will achieve. It could be a second, it could be a player, it could be a first. I don't think anyone's going to give up a first for Kuzmenko, to be honest with you. Maybe a second or third round pick. But Calgary scouts can be effective here, and not to go into it too much longer as we've already eaten up about 11 minutes of the time, but we have to make sure we give our fact about this because I think it's going to be such a big domino effect. The Vancouver Canucks, to give the grade, I give them a C+ on this. That's really low. People aren't going to like it, but I'm talking about overall as a trade value. C+ to Vancouver, and I'm going to give an A- to Calgary. I think they did a great job here. I think they won the trade if on the outside looking in. But if you're looking at me who won that trade now, I would trade my grade. Obviously, Vancouver, A+ wins that trade now, very simply, okay? But hindsight, and I'm going to say this again when we talk football, hindsight's always 20/20, okay? So we will see what happens. But overall, buyers are Vancouver, reward the roster. They did that. Calgary's looking to move out pieces, and Craig Conroy is going to be a busy guy. And his price tag is not cheap, and he is not caring because teams last minute will pay that. And this wasn't even a last minute deal. Imagine if this was a trade deadline deal. Value, for some reason, people disagree, but it goes up last minute. If you're trying to sell somebody, no. But if you're trying to buy somebody, oh, baby, that price goes up. Kudos to Vancouver getting it done early. Calgary Flames, Vancouver Canucks, big trade. We talked hockey and football. It's been a while since we've mixed things here. So let's go back on point. Let's get to this point. Take a little breather. This is the Game Sports Podcast. David McCaig joined by Justin Hykel. We appreciate the patience, and we apologize again that Paul couldn't join us. And I forgot to mention that we did not have EJ on this segment as well. We did plan to have EJ, but there was some more technological difficulties there. So we've been dealing with a lot here on the producer end on the Game Sports Podcast today. So very happy you were able to join us. Remind you, go to Game Sports Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Yes, all over TikToks. We love the interaction on TikToks. Keep it coming. But don't hesitate to hit subscribe. Over 70% of you that view the videos on TikTok, even YouTube on 91N, are not hitting subscribe. If you like the content, give it a like, give it a follow, give it a subscribe. Helps us go a long way. Justin, we're going to get into the pocket now, okay? We're going to get into football. Got about 10, 15 minutes there into football, then we're wrapping up the show, okay? And there's points that we're going to get into. Justin and I are going to talk about championship games, and then we're going to get into Super Bowl preview. Justin, let's go to the Lions first. Okay? And I just say the Lions because it did play a team. They're called the San Francisco 49ers. But obviously, there's a lot of close to home here when it comes to the Lions. Not because we're fans. If you know the show, we're not. He's a Colts fan. I'm a Steelers fan. But, of course, we were cheering for the Lions here because if you love sports, you should have been cheering for the Lions. But a lot of fans and even co-founder, the late Scott Nason, he was a big Lions fan. Paul Van Wagner, whose part we couldn't upload, big Lions fan. There was disappointment. They didn't win. They're not going to the Super Bowl. The Niners won. Justin, before I get into my points that I had with Paul, I want to get your reaction. And I mentioned my points with Paul because I shared such good points. I even typed them out, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Justin, what's your reaction about the Detroit Lions and 49ers game? Give it a reaction from both sides. I guess we can't just go to the Lions. There's two teams that played that game.
I mean, the Lions had them. They had them in the first half. But, I mean, when things got crazy there, they stayed true to who they were. I mean, that's everyone wants to crap on Dan Campbell for not kicking it and tying the game, but that's not who they were. That's not the locker room that, they're not the guy that the locker room bought into. Sorry. Honestly, I don't have an issue with it. I know there's some people going crazy out there, but honestly, I don't see many Lions fans going crazy about it.
Nope.
I think every Lions fan out there that I've talked to is pretty ecstatic with how the season went. I mean, you had a season that dreams are made of. You had a playoff run that had the entire planet talking about you. Really, I think everything is sunshine and rainbows going into Detroit next year. Did you make it to the Super Bowl? No. Is it a shitty loss? 100%. But you got a fairly young team. And are those guys going to learn something here? Like that hurt isn't going to go away. Did Dan Campbell learn something here? Like everyone, this is a learning opportunity for everybody. But honestly, my thought on that is like they knew Tuesday before, like a week ago, in their pregame meetings that they were going for it on fourth down. Like this wasn't
discussed in the moment.
No,
Unless you're 4th and 5, maybe you're not doing that. But 4th 3, 4th 2, 4th 1.
they just did like a show. How is everybody good with this? And then, yeah, we're fine. Okay, so that's what we're doing.
Yep. They went.
Maybe,
they
maybe
lived by
not.
the sword.
Maybe it was a little more professional than the way I view it in my head. But
Maybe.
honestly, I think But as a team guy here, I honestly think that everyone was just like, "Yep, that's who we are. We're the Lions. Let's do it." And even Eminem was into it, I think.
Oh, Eminem. Now, I know everybody would have loved Eminem to be in the Super Bowl for multiple reasons and because of other attendees potentially. But overall, just he's been big Lions fan. Just the story would have been so much better from a media perspective if the Lions won and made it. I just feel like it would have been a better story. But I guess, you can't, when you have a game, you're paying, yes, but you're playing 4 quarters. All right. The game doesn't end in the second quarter. And it seemed like after the half, it's even as a fan of particular sports teams, which I have another point in there in my write-up that I'll say before we go to the Chiefs Ravens. Then of course we have a Super Bowl preview to talk about before we get going. So we're trying to make this as quick as we can with our time, but there's 4 quarters in a football game, right? And the Lions didn't play a full 4, nor did the Niners. Okay. So my point about the Lions I want to bring up, and I did, as I said, mention this with Paul, and I even typed it out because I feel like my rant was so good about the Lions. Paul even liked it. Paul even built off it, okay? And that's a Lions fan, and there's somebody who knows how to host a podcast and a broadcast, all right? Lions, number one, Lions lost to a better team, but the Lions played better and deserved better. They had a 17-point lead. Coaches, the risks drops aside. It's a tough pill to swallow, okay? And it's tough to allow a team back in a game, but it's always to the old point. Good teams find ways to win. The Niners did that. Number 2, if Dan Campbell succeeds on one of those 4th downs or both, we're sitting here right now giving him praise. There's a statue being built at Ford Field. Everything would be all good and peachy in Detroit land, okay? Even if he went for those on 4th down and they still lost the football game somehow, he is not getting criticized because it didn't work. That's why we're talking about it. And what if he went for the kicks? What if the kicks were missed? Then what are we talking about? The what if, could have, should have out of the game. Hykel just talked about it. It was decided. They knew what they were doing. They were going for it. If you want my opinion, very simple. I would have went for it the first time. If I would have missed, I would have said, let's not do it a second time. That's truly what I would have did. But if anyone who knows me, I'm not a football coach. I didn't play a lick of football in my life unless it was gym class in high school. Okay, so don't take it from me. I'm just going to tell you from a coach experience perspective, I agree with playing it safe and getting points. But this was decided well before. And despite what Dan Campbell decided, it was a call that was well decided before the game. And you know what? They went for it. You got to give him credit. Number 3, Reynolds dropped the ball not once but twice. Okay, and on top of him dropping the ball in a very high-pressure situation in terms of the game stature, Ayuk gets the ball off somebody's head. Okay, and I forget who the defensive player was. I'm sorry, Lions fans. You can at me or comment below. But this is bounce off a football, bounce off the head, catch. No, the bounce is just no.
That's how you knew. That was the moment I think everyone knew.
Yep.
The Lions aren't winning.
No,
it's just not in the. There's no way like all these people talking about this. Their script. You cannot. There's absolutely no way in hell that you could come up with that play to just happen. That is just. Karma. I don't know what else to say about that. Like that's from that idiot from the Lions defense waving at all the fans at halftime. Well, Journey's playing in there. Don't stop believing. Yeah, they didn't. They didn't stop.
They didn't. And bounces just weren't going that way. So in summary, you got the better team won this game on paper, but the Lions did deserve better. Dan Campbell, he went for those plays. It doesn't matter which way it would have went. We'd have a different conversation right now if he made those. And 3, there was plays that led up to their comeback. Reynolds' drops, had a head bounce in the air catch. Look, you just knew that this was going to be overall hindsight is 2020. I said I would say that again. Many of you say that he did the wrong thing. Some of you may say he did the right thing or this thing was the wrong way. A lot of point the fingers, but let's say this quickly in summary. Michigan football this year in general was great to watch, and you were put to a treat. Michigan University wins the NCAA championship. The Detroit Lions get to the conference championship. Furthest that they've been since 1991 when they lost to Washington. The overall everything with Detroit and in Michigan right now, you should be holding up your head high. I know it's a tough pill to swallow. Take it from a fan who cheers for teams in sports in particular that break your heart. Hike knows what I'm talking about. If you know the show and who I cheer for, you should know. And this, end of the day, this is something that's going to be a big building block for the Lions. And how Dan Campbell said we might not get there, it might be tough to get there. Screw that. This team is ready to proceed forward. They're going to be a more attractive team to play to as well, for players to be signed, make moves. I still think you should believe in Goff. He is the guy, and I believe this is the team that can still get there next year. The Roar and the Roar Nation is in full effect. Okay, Justin, just very briefly about the Ravens and Chiefs, because then I want to get to the Chiefs and 49ers. And then overall our pick 'em and wrap up the podcast. Ravens, Chiefs. Okay, Lamar Jackson. I don't know where you want to go first with this. There's a couple points, and I'll take 2 points. Travis Kelce was a beast in this game. Travis Kelce, was a beast in this game. Mahomes. That's all. And Lamar Jackson has not been great in high-profile games in the playoffs. He's been really inconsistent, but this is still a top quarterback, top 3, maybe top 2. Should I say top 2 quarterback in the league? I don't know if Joe Burrow or Josh Allen, or let me keep going on the list. I know Patrick Mahomes would have something to say about that because he's number 1. Maybe Brock Purdy has something to say about that as well. But you know, the Ravens, I think, are the better team. On paper, they are the better team. But that don't mean shit. This is a one-game elimination game against a team who's been there, led by players who have been there and grinded to get there. Okay, there's a reason why they are who they are. And at the end of the day, the team that was better didn't win, but the team that showed up and were better that night won. And guys like Kelce, and I'm going to keep saying it. I'm not correcting myself. Kelce, Mahomes, they showed up to play that game, and the Ravens couldn't contend.
You know, it's frustrating to watch. My gut reaction on this one is that, all right, the more experienced, the more playoff hardened team just won the game, and that's why this happened. In watching the game, like the first half of the football game was awesome. It was super competitive. It was like 10-10, I believe, at halftime. Like it was. Yeah. The defenses both looked wild, and then they came out and Kansas City's defense still looked wild after half, and Baltimore just came out flat. Yeah. And to talk to the Lamar Jackson thing a little bit, like, to me it seems like it's in his head now where he just shouldn't run the ball. Don't be a running back. Because like there were times where he could have just ran and got 10 yards easily 10 yards. There were times where with the hole that he had in the field, Peyton Manning could have ran and got 10 yards.
You would know Peyton Manning.
If people get that reference and how funny that is, then Lamar Jackson probably could have got 60
yards
with that.
A lot faster than Peyton was.
And to me, it seems with the Ravens that they need an offensive coordinator that can almost play like a video game with Lamar Jackson, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like Lamar can call quite a bit of the offense on the fly. But when times get tough, it seems like in the last, he just needs a hand. Like just simple, like to, I don't even want to say simplify it, but just, I don't know. Like it just seems like the guys aren't on the same page on the field.
Good point.
Like I don't know. It just like receivers aren't where Lamar's throwing the ball. And I mean, is part of that is Odell Beckham, and Odell Beckham thinks he knows better. But I mean, like he's like the third receiver. So I'm just taking a shot there at Odell to take a shot. Like Zay Flowers was pretty good, but he's young. So maybe this was a young receiver issue, but like Mark Andrews' first game back issue. I don't know. Like they just, the second half of the game, they came out flat. The first half was great. The second half, the Chiefs just said, fuck you. And that was it. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting Super Bowl. That's for sure.
It is. And that, as just to finalize that point, Travis and Patrick were beasts in this game. The clutch performance, like this was a game, and everyone who knows Dane on the show was actually here watching football, and we were watching that game, and we were like, yeah, it was a good game. The Ravens Chiefs game was fantastic. The Lions game was great. Despite the outcome, if you're a Lions fan, it was a great football game. But again, thumbs up to the conference games this weekend. And, all the hate online, and we're not going to get into this, I'm just going to say all the hate online towards Taylor Swift and reaction with Travis on the field, enough's enough, man. Like, I'm a fan of the conspiracy theories.
Just let them do their thing.
The conspiracy theories about the 13 and traveling from Tokyo to go see him. Let's hear that. I want to hear those stories. I want to hear the empowering stories about how she is the woman she is, because she is fantastic and a role model. But those are stuff I want to hear. Two people loving each other on the field. There's no difference between anyone else who loves each other on the field saying I love you to their girlfriend, their wife, their partner, whatever it may be. Okay. We're not here on the game. We're not going to dive into that topic, but I'll say I'm a fan of Taylor and Travis. Heck, Tyler Willett, the Game Sports Podcast own, was defending Travis Kelce on a Barstool upload. Okay, you can check it out. That video was worth it. All right. It's great. It's great to see. It's great for the world of football. And I'm sure people that like our thumbnail today that involves that certain particular scene on the field in Baltimore, I hope you enjoy it. And if you don't like it, too bad. Super Bowl preview, Justin. Let's get into that. I'm trying to promise the time's constraint here. Trying to keep it. There's a lot that we dove into. We got the 49ers and we got the Chiefs. Okay, in Vegas, either all riding on red, all riding on black, whatever color being bet on. And no, the 49ers aren't black and the Chiefs aren't black. I'm just doing a reference of gambling on the colors. Okay. Something in Vegas, it's going to be a hell of a football game. It's going to be something. I think you got a very good offense against an elite offense. I'm sorry. I do think the Niners have the edge in this game in each position, that being on the offensive side and defensive side of the football. But coaching, as much as I think Shanahan is who he is, Andy Reid, man. Andy Reid's got the edge on coaching here, I think, a little bit, just because of his experience, because of how much we love Andy Reid here on the Game Sports Podcast. But, Justin, I want your reaction and preview, and then I'll do a little reaction preview before we get into our pick'em about the keys in this game, the things to watch out for in this game. The floor is yours. Share with our listeners what you're expecting and what people should expect with this Super Bowl.
Honestly, I'm mostly intrigued at this point about who's wearing what jerseys, because we got two teams that wear red. But the general survey I've been doing at work amongst the guys in the warehouse has been that the 49ers should be wearing the white, because the white and gold looks pretty sharp.
Sure does.
And the Chiefs should just be wearing red, because that's what the Chiefs. When you think the Kansas City Chiefs, that's what you think of.
Yeah, you think of that Kansas City Chiefs red with a little bit of that orange and white lettering on it. That's where I think this should go. Is that how that's going to shake out? Who knows? Yep.
My other thought on this is that is this potentially a the rumors are out there. We don't know. I don't know if it's actually been confirmed, but the Jason Kelce retirement after the playoffs went there. So is this potentially a brotherly retirement season? Is this a Trav's last game kind of thing? He can go off and be, Mr.
He could join with us on the podcast. So.
Well, honestly, these guys have to see that. Just like what they're doing with the media, like with their podcast and the dollar signs that come in with that. Like you can't be blind to the fact that there's guys out there, former athletes, that have gone and done podcasts, and then they've got deals with different broadcasters, and there's more money in that than there is that we've made in the last 15 years playing football. And Jason, especially as an offensive lineman, he's like, wait a minute.
Yes.
I've been doing that tush push for the last 4 years, getting people piling on me, and you're going to pay me this much to sit here and just tell jokes?
Oh, and he's so good at it. That podcast.
They're not dumb. If you listen to these guys, they're not dumb. They have fun, and they want to just keep having fun. Maybe they don't want to go through the grind anymore. But we're a little off topic. But that's kind of my my train of thoughts going there. It seems like the story's been too good all season with those two. The Kelce brothers, everything else. Would that not just be the perfect sign off to it, and then everyone's going to jump up. Well, maybe the NFL planned this.
No. And to have my point on that before I go back to kind of, maybe some keys about the game, the Travis Kelce, I think he's got one more year after this. He was on a podcast about 2 weeks ago, despite the money, where he said that he wants one more, even if he can win one this year. He wants to put himself above Gronk. He even said that he thinks he has a bit more in the tank. But I get your point about the money, the dollars, the podcast. The thing is, Jason can still lead that podcast, and Travis can still come on when he has his week, right? That's what they've been doing. I think Travis has one more year left, and if it win or lose, I think after next year would be it. The last thing I'll say is that he ain't proposing at this game. Okay, that's not happening. If that happens, Justin, then we might need to have a different discussion after the Super Bowl, because then I think something is, knowing even all the Swifties will tell you that Taylor wouldn't want that. Okay,
I don't think that's not on brand for him.
No, that isn't. He wouldn't do that. Okay, and if he did do it, I would be so mad though, Justin. I'm not gonna lie. Don't take away from a team celebration for your proposal with Taylor Swift.
The NFL would be all over that. Like the entire planet. Like
the internet would break.
That's an entire month's worth of shit for people to talk about.
Months. Now, Justin, again, the points of the game.
But there is actually a game. I mean,
there is a game. The defensive side, offensive side of the football, some key things that you can say about either squad that's going to be big to highlight as my camera is fixing itself.
I mean, just shooting it quickly here, because we know we're on time constraints. I mean, the big one, just the dynamics in San Fran's offense. I mean, with Debo, even as Ayuk showed us out there in the Detroit game. I mean, he's pretty solid. Christian McCaffrey, and as the world says, just average Brock Purdy out there, just doing MVP caliber season, being average and such.
Just basic.
But and the big keys on the other side of the ball, it's like Fred Warner on the defense for the 49ers.
Yeah.
Pretty solid out there. And the 49ers defensive line. If they're able to get to Mahomes and hurry him, I think that's going to be the key to the game for them. And flip side to the Kansas City side of the ball, I think like the Chris Jones on the defensive line, being up in Brock Purdy's grill early on was pretty successful for the Detroit Lions, and then the Lions just gassed out on defense, it seemed. Once they were able to block Hutch, then Purdy kind of had his way with the Lions defense.
Sure did.
So I think if Chris Jones and the rest of the Kansas City defensive line can keep some pressure there, even just keep them on the 3 and outs. I mean, you don't have to sack them every time, but just force some 3 and outs. Your offense is good enough to chew up the clock and run the ball, kill some time.
Took it right from my mouth.
We don't really have to talk about the Kansas City offense. What is it, 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls? That's where they've been.
And they've scored on how many consecutive opening drives in the playoffs too?
I'd also like to point out that the only Colts team that the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes lost to was the Andrew Luck Colts team.
Love that.
They lost to all the bad ones, not the good one.
If you're on video here, listeners, I think my program will edit my blur. If I'm a little bit of blur, I apologize. If you're on audio, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
I just want to make sure. It doesn't look bad on my end. So
good. Okay, that's just my eyes. It's not the wine. Yes, I am drinking wine on this upload. I am drinking wine on this upload. Call me out on it. It is a nice glass of Italian vino. It's delicious. My point, Chiefs, I'm going to say it very quickly. I said this last week. The offense that can stay on the field is what's going to win the game. And that's the most obvious, corny line that I could say. But the reason why I say that is because the Chiefs are so damn good at it. They're so damn good at making those clutch plays. They're able to contain the football, hold on to the football, have good possession time, get down the field, because you have Mahomes, who isn't afraid to run, who isn't afraid to throw. Purdy's very similar as well. Kelce, who's playing at a different level right now, which takes a little bit of ease and opens up other receivers. They're going to be covering Kelce a lot next week in the Super Bowl, on February the 11th. that's where I think San Francisco's defense is really going to be tested, is because of the arm of Mahomes, where he can throw deep, he can throw short, but he can run. It's going to make you have to blitz. It's going to make them think a little bit different, because Goff is built different than Mahomes. Jordan Love, potential's there, but he ain't Patrick Mahomes, okay? The Niners had it tough they had tough games against the Packers and the Lions. They didn't walk out of those games easily. They didn't kill the Packers like I thought they were going to. They didn't kill the Lions. Not that I thought they were going to. I thought the Lions were going to win that game by a field goal, if I remember correctly. But they didn't kill those teams. The Kansas City Chiefs, are they better than the Lions? I'm not going to say they're better. I think there's a lot of similarities, but at quarterback position they are, and that's no offense to Goff. Goff is great. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league for a reason. This is going to be a different test for the Niners, because if they show up like they did against the Lions and not play in the first half, you're done. Against the Chiefs, you are done. They're too experienced. They're too well coached. Lions are too. It's not the point. I'm just saying right now this experience factor is what's going to be the winner in this game too. Guy who can stay on the field the longest and the defensive side of the football. If the Chiefs can expose the 49ers defense, get up early and stay and defend that lead and use that defense, that's very never mind all the sexy names that they got. They just find a way to keep you out of the end zone. Okay. And if you can contend Lamar Jackson, I really think they can do the same to Brock Purdy. Okay. So I think they got to follow a very similar game plan there. But overall, the 49ers, if you're going to defeat the Chiefs, it's getting up on them early and holding that lead, because if there's somebody who can power back in the game, it's Mahomes. So your defense needs to be tight, but each time you have the offense side of the football, you're playing on that side. If McCaffrey's not running, give it to Debo. If Debo and McCaffrey are running, give it to Ayuk. If that's not going, Kittle better be on. His helmet, his hair better be just flowing in the air, because you got weapons everywhere. Purdy is also his own weapon. Use your legs and run down that field. The Niners, if they're going to win this game, that offense is what's going to carry that team. Okay, we know defenses are going to show up. We know the offenses are going to show up, but the better offense that's on the field that day is what's going to win, and I truly think the Niners do have the upper hand on that. But you can't doubt playoff experience. It's a completely different animal. We got a very exciting Super Bowl. We got Usher performing in the halftime show. We don't know what guests are going to show up. I'm not looking forward to the halftime show, to be honest, because I like Usher. I respect him as an artist, but I don't jam to Usher a whole bunch. I might have jammed to him when I was at a bar back a decade or so ago when I was at the bar, if I was across the river in Sault Ste. Michigan at the Savoy, or if I was jamming out at Top Hat, or Smokies, which is a bar here in town in Sault Ste. Marie. Anyone who's from the Sioux will get some laughs at that. But I'm sure he can put on a good show. He's a good dancer. He's a good performer. He knows a lot of people. Maybe some guests will show up, make it entertaining. But there's a lot to look forward to in the Super Bowl. We got two very good, exciting teams that are going to be playing in this game, and it's going to be overall great to watch. Justin, we got our pick'em. Let's get into our pick'em. We will not have any 2-minute warning this week. Then after our pick'em, we will get to the wrap up of the show.
All right. Well, do a quick recap here on the standings. So EJ's in first with 177. He got 0 right last week. Dave got 1 right last week. You're in second with 176. And then I got 0 right, and I am in third with 175. So a 2-point spread across the board here. Really,
I think that means for you, I think that does mean that it's
best I can do is where I am, I think. Unless you somehow get your pick wrong, and I get mine right.
And
we have opposite picks.
We don't know what EJ's pick is. We were hoping that he was on at one point, but unfortunately we couldn't keep the connection on with him either. We apologize again, listeners, for some of the hope that we might have sprouted to you. But EJ
technical issues this week.
Lots, but we still got great content. And I know if you got here because of those clips, I know we got some fire clips this week, so I'm proud of that. Overall, the winner this week, if I get one right and EJ doesn't, I win. I believe I win. If EJ gets it right, I get it wrong, EJ wins. Unfortunately, Justin, I will always say, though, Justin was the regular season champion, and that's harder to win because there's a lot more games. Okay?
It was fascinating how close this entire season was.
It's amazing. No matter what excuse train EJ wants to use.
It comes down, and we're on like a really 3 points between us.
And that's great. I don't know what way EJ is going to go. I wish that we would have had his pick here today. We'll just have to wait and see till after the Super Bowl. They'll tease it for you for what he would have picked for the Super Bowl. And hopefully he doesn't listen to the show and purposely pick someone that I did. So I think when we get off, we're going to have to require EJ to make his pick before the show is uploaded, Justin. I think that's fair to agree on. Might have to send that message. Might have to get you to send that message for me. Now, let's get to our pick'em. I'll go first, I guess, because I guess it doesn't matter which way we go on this. I'm going to divert my pick very easily to what my thumbnail is this week. I'm pretty excited to like for this year. If this was the Lions here, I'm going all in on Lions, right? But we're not there. This Super Bowl is going to be very exciting to watch. A lot of good teams, or two good teams. This was a great playoff. I think it was great. It was great to see the Steelers in there. Sorry, Justin. It was an overall great playoffs that I enjoyed, and it didn't go by the script that everyone predicted. You thought you were going to see the Ravens and the Chiefs, right? No, was it Ravens and 49ers? 49ers. Sorry, that was the conspiracy because of the colors. Thank you, that didn't happen. We got the Chiefs and we got the Niners. Niners got in there, but the Chiefs got in there, no matter what you want to say. And as I said, back to my pick, going to my thumbnail, I am picking the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel that this game, the way the Niners have been playing the last couple games, I feel like unless they come out with some sort of way to really find a way to play 4 quarters of football, I think experience is going to prevail here. The Niners may be the better team all around in general. Maybe I'm naive to say that. Maybe I'm wrong to say that. But I think this with Mahomes, with Kelsey, the weapons that Kansas City has, but overall, the experience this roster has is going to prevail in this football game. And it's going to be a very good football game. I think we're going to experience a very good, tight game that's going to be high scoring at the same time, and we're in for a treat. So I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs to yet again win the Super Bowl as Patrick Mahomes get yet another ring, and so does Travis Kelce. The score in this game, like I said, it's going to be high scoring. I'm going 34-30 for the Kansas City Chiefs over the 49ers in this football game. Very close. It's going to be back and forth in the first quarter, very quiet second quarter, mid-third, and that fourth quarter is going to be a bang. The two best quarters are going to be the first and fourth if you want full in-depth prediction. Who scores the most points this week? Well, very simple. We pick one team to win. That's the Chiefs, and the team that's going to lose, going to the least points, will be the San Francisco 49ers. So the Chiefs will win yet another Super Bowl, Justin. Your turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna be pretty quick and painless on this one. Everyone knows I haven't really liked the Chiefs all year, but picking against the Chiefs has not worked for me. So I'm gonna pick the Chiefs in this one. Picking the Chiefs to win 28-24, and hopefully by doing that, the 49ers will actually win the game. That's my strategy on this. That's what I got.
Love that strategy. Very good football game we have for incoming for us not this week. The Pro Bowl's this week, and the Game Sports podcast will not be diving into the Pro Bowl. We had enough All-Star chat with hockey at the beginning of the segment. No interest in the Pro Bowl here. If you're interested, I'm sorry, but there's no interest here with the Pro Bowl, and we will not be diving into that content. We had a lot of good times this year, Justin. I can't believe we're already at the Super Bowl this season. Now, what that means is after football's done, you're going to be coming back to another show. You're going to be coming on back to talk a little bit more hockey, especially with
just change the night of the week. That's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. And also with the schedules varying with Alex and Dane, it'd be great to have Justin come on to that. But we still got this week with football, and we'll have a post Super Bowl show as well, which will be the season finale of In the Pocket. That'll get to the reaction of the Super Bowl, and we'll get into the overall results of the pick'em. We all know who won the regular season. That was Justin. Just to remind listeners, I didn't get a chance to talk about this at the beginning. If you got to this point, it would be about an hour into the show. We appreciate you staying on, and we're about 20 minutes over this segment. Good thing I know Justin's supposed to be on time, but I guess I overrode him on that, and I appreciate Justin taking the time. We will not have any news shows next week. We do not plan to anyways. There may be a segment that myself, Dan, and Alex end up fitting in, but we do plan to have an upload of sorts next week, which may be a special edition show, It may be another show. Who knows what it may be? So keep an eye on all the channels of the Game Sports Podcast. And that's why we're doing a Super Bowl preview show this week. So we have a whole bunch of clips to share with you, but we'll also have 2 weeks of time almost for you to listen to the show and hear our reaction. So we will not have any new shows next week is our plan here on the game, to the exception of maybe one, but there will be an upload of shorts next week. You follow? Hope you do, because I'm not repeating that. Again, the Game Sports Podcast is powered by 91N. That's 91 Network. 91 Network SSM at gmail.com. If you're currently doing a podcast, or if you are interested in doing a podcast and you want to get aired on 91N, join the community with multiple podcasts already on it, make sure you reach out. And if you're listening to the show on that channel, make sure you hit subscribe. And whatever channel you're listening on audio, a simple like, follow, subscribe, or 5 stars goes a long way. And don't hesitate to follow us where, Justin? Social media, Instagram, Facebook, simple, at the Game Sports Podcast. But better yet, where all the interaction is, TikTok at the Game Sports Podcast. Okay, do not get anything mixed up. Not the Game Sport, not the Game Podcast, the Game Sports Podcast. Thank you to Alex Parr. I want to say thank you to Paul Van Wagner and EJ Russell. Even though you didn't see them this show, they did take the time to come on and talk, and we couldn't get them on. But yeah, there was an appearance, but you couldn't visually see them. We knew they were here. But Justin, I want to say thank you to you for taking the time, as always, my friend. We got an interesting game of football coming in just a few weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, it seems like the season went by pretty quick. You hit the end of September, and it's like, oh wow, September went by really fast, and now we're here.
Another year of in the pocket.
It's crazy. I mean, Super Bowl in about 10 days. Hockey trade deadline about 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
It starts snowballing. And the off season's coming quick. NFL drafts in April.
Lots of things coming. We got lots, and the Game Sports Podcast will have it all for you. Now, Justin, thank you again. And I want to say happy belated birthday to, of course, your better half, I'd like to say.
I'll pass it along.
To Tiana. I know Facebook message doesn't always go the right. It's always good to say on the show. She's a supporter of this show since day one. And she shared my conspiracy post last week. So you got to love that. So happy birthday to Justin's better half. We'd say Justin to Tiana. Sorry. And again, thank you to everyone for joining us. Until next time, we don't know when our next upload will be, if it'll be next week or the week after. Like I said, keep an eye on content, but I can promise you one thing: if we don't have an upload next week that is a news show, there will be one on February the 12th after the Super Bowl, and likely maybe the 14th, but we're going to plan that out when we get there. So just keep an eye and you won't miss. I'm here to remind you, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.